Hi, my name is Asa Ito. From now, I will give you a short lecture for about 30 to 40 minutes with the title of the Designing Haptic Encounter with People. But first of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to those who have invited me and all the efforts that are needed to make this possible. Thank you very much. So let me start my talk with a short selfie introduction. Again, my name is Asa Ito, Director of Future of Humanity Research Center and Professor of Aesthetics and Art at Tokyo Institute of Technology. I don't know if aesthetics is a major academic field or not in your country. Aesthetics is a world-based research focusing on human experiences that are hard to put into words. Some people say that aesthetics is a brother of philosophy. Yes, both of them use words to analyze problems. But of course, there is differences. Philosophy poses questions with words. For example, what is time, or what is the existence, and so on. On the other hand, aesthetics focuses on much more vague or something that are hard to put into words. For example, human sensations or human feelings or impressions that we get from works of art and so on. And I call my approach as differently abled aesthetics, which means aesthetics that focuses on uniqueness of experiences of people with disabilities. Sometimes I make interviews with people who are blind, and sometimes I make interview with people who stutter like me, and sometimes I make interview with people who have amputated, and so on. And I'm an author of these books, and some of them are translated in your languages. Okay, so this is a menu of today's talk. First, I will talk with the title of the sense of touch as the most inferior sense. And next, I will move on to the second chapter that deals with characteristics of haptic communication based on 3 examples of good haptic communication. And next, and lastly, I will take haptic communication with those who are not here. So some of you may know that in Western culture, people thought that there is a kind of hierarchy of senses. Since Aristotle, it has been supposed that there is a hierarchy of senses with sight as a dominant sense. Sight is a top, and followed by hearing, smell, and taste, and touch. Here, sight has been considered to be the most superior sense because of its objectivity. This is assuming that sufficient distance from the object enables people to judge and analyze it rationally. On the other hand, the sense of touch has been identified as one of the most inferior and animalistic senses because it requires direct contact with the object, which was thought to trigger angry desire of human. So based on this hierarchy, sight has been served as the basis of knowledge, understanding, design, and code of conduct in most society, not only in Western culture, but also Asian countries have designed based on sight. For example, the word see means to understand. Children are encouraged to look someone in the eyes in talking to them. This may be good for abled autonomous individuals. However, one cannot live without tactile involvement by others. Yes, people with disabilities, of course, need tactile environment, but people without disabilities too need tactile involvement by others. Because when we are born, grow, get sick and die, we need care. And the act of caring is based on human relationship mediated by the sense of touch. Haptic encounter contains different ethics from the dominant one in our society that is based on sight. The relationship between caregivers and care receivers would be suggestive to speculate on another way of meeting someone and getting to know each other. But I think we have to care that the sense of touch has two different aspects. One is a good aspect, but the other one is bad, very dangerous aspect. Touching someone's body can enhance intimacy with them. This is good, but it can be violent. The hierarchy of senses is prejudiced, but as ancient thinkers warned, there is still a dangerous side to touch. Touch can stir up sexual desires, lead to dominating and controlling the person, or treating the person like an object. That's why we must consider what is good touch or ethics of touch. In the second chapter, here I talk about characteristics of good haptic communication. Based on some examples. First example is haptic communication using a long stick. Here I will show you a short movie of this communication between this man and this man. His name is Shinichiro Kumagaya. He's a researcher and doctor. Some of you may know him as a researcher of Toujisha Kenkyu. And he is a cerebral palsy patient, SHP patient. So he can't move his arm so wide enough. And he's a dancer. His name is Jareo Osamu.
では、はい、これも前も3つずつでもいいです。はい。
Kumagaya pushes the stick with the back of his hand, like this.
はいはい。一旦ちょっと一回止めて。
Okay, and after doing something like this, they left out some comments. Kumagaya said that this interaction conveys a texture of Jareo to me. I think this means that even if you push with the same force, the force of pushing back varies from person to person. Some person may push back stronger than you, but some person push back less strong, very weaker than you. So that tells softness or hardness of that person. And Javier said that I didn't expect to be shaken by Kumagaya like this. The vibration he sent to me was much more delicate than I have expected. I have not noticed it before we used the stick. And he also said that by contacting each other with a stick, the desire to get involved and a curiosity that rises beneath the surface of the hand revealed. Kumagaya's cautious manner of handling a stick seemed to wait and see how I would behave toward him. His sociability is not apparent from his visual appearance. I think this is a very important point because Kumagaya is visually inactive and appears clumsy, but tactically he's very active and dexterous. So the different personality was revealed by contacting with sense of touch. Yeah, next example is coming from a brand marathon. When brand runner runs, they need to be guided by a sighted person, and they use a rope like this. First, you have to loop a rope, and the brand runner holds one side of it, and a sighted guide holds the other side, and they run with synchronized arm waving. This low-tech, very low-tech communication system has a surprising ability to convey information. Here's some comments by brand runners and sighted guides. This is the comment by brand runner. When we run together holding a rope, I feel we resonate with each other. And when we get in tune with each other, I can feel the rhythm that makes our hearts dance and have fun. And the next comment was given by sighted guide. Yes, it's not helping someone or being helped by someone. It's just running together. This means that each role becomes ambiguous. And next comment is by brand runner. Now, sometimes I feel as if I am running alone for forgetting the presence of the guide runner. When this happens, I sometimes even see the road in front of me, and I am surprised and happy at the same time. It's very interesting experience because the brand person see their environment. The mechanism is like this. For example, the body of sighted guide tenses up when he sees a steep hill in front of him. This tension is transmitted to the brand runner through the rope, so the brand runner also notices that there is a hill there. In this way, the sighted guide's reaction to the environment transmitted through the rope becomes a rich source of information for the brand runner. And third example is care, physical care. First example of physical care is coming from Shinichiro Kumagaya's book. As I said, he is a sleepy patient. So when he was a child, he had to have rehabilitation. I heard that 3 hours every day. And he talked about these experiences on this book titled Nights of Rehabilitation. He said that trainer's movement of pulling my arm and my movement of stretching my arm are a set. Here, pulling may seem to be an active movement, and stretching may seem to be passive movement caused by an active movement. Yeah, that is not wrong, but it is not that simple either. The trainer adjusts the strength of movement of preparing my arm by sensing my arm extension and muscular tension. And in that sense, my arm extension can be regarded as active and the trainer's preparing my arm as passive. In this way, a relationship is established between my arm movement and the trainer's arm movement, in which they mutually pick up information and influence each other to some extent. There is active passivity and passive activity. So we can decide which one is active and which one is passive. That is a very interesting point of haptic communication. This is also important for good care, constant adjustment. They are picking up information from each other and adjust their own movement constantly. The second example of physical care is coming from Tomoya Ishida. He is a film director, muscular dystrophy patient. He said he had talked to me about his experience of being cared. He said like that, when I am assisted by a certain caregiver for the first time in a month, I lose track of the lines of movement and the positions of things. And I sometimes wonder how I am supposed to do it. But when I start doing it, I remember, oh, this is how I did it. Or I may remember the procedure, but I forget the physical sensation after a month. I myself sometimes think, what was the position of this caregiver's body? As I'm doing the procedure, I remember, oh, this position or this amount of force. Yes, haptic memory is very interesting because it cannot be expressed into words. And he also said, I feel that each caregiver has a completely different approach, whether it is the way they wash my body, bathe me, or transform me. I think it is dance-like because it shows the difference between people. So yes, there is a uniqueness of method in haptic communication, very personal. So from these three examples, we can clarify characteristics of good care, good haptic communication. First point is haptic personality. As we saw in the case of Jareo and Kumagaya, communication with long stick, haptic communication can reveal one's hidden personality that cannot be noticed through visual communication. That means we can re-encounter each other through the sense of touch, even if we know each other visually. First examples sometimes are made by how one looks. However, that is not all one is. And second point, and the most important point, is reciprocal exploration. Here I draw two diagrams which shows two different modes of communication. This left one is a communication of transmission mode. In other words, one direction, monodirectional communication, which means the sender has message and he transfer this message to receivers. Very simple. But this one, left diagram, shows a generative mode. In other words, communication with reciprocal exploration. Here, message is generated on contact surface of two peoples. So we cannot say which one is sender or receiver. Good haptic communication is generative and contains reciprocal exploration. So this type of communication. Here, participants constantly adjust the way they touch others based on their reaction. And it is much more like a conversation at the dinner table, where topics are improvised through the interaction. And in communication with reciprocal exploration, boundaries and roles of participants get fuzzy. When you touch me, you are also touched by me. And care activities tend to be transmission mode, this one. From a caregiver to care receiver. It is highly efficient, but has a risk of becoming violent. If a caregiver doesn't show flexibility to change his or her plans based on reactions from a care receiver, a care receiver may feel treated like an object. To secure the generative mode with reciprocal exploration is indispensable for good care. That characteristic is trust. As I said, the last part of chapter 1, sense of touch has two different aspects, which was touching another body can enhance intimacy, but can be violent against him or her. So trust in each other is essential to get into the haptic relationship. Toshio Yamagishi, he is a social psychologist, distinguishes between safety and trust. Safety is a feeling that emerges when you think everything is going as planned and there is no uncertainty. On the other hand, when you say you trust him, you let him go. Nevertheless, you are uncertain if he will succeed or not. So safety requires controlling of others, whereas trust evades it. Okay, so the last chapter, titled Haptic Communication with Those Who Are Not Here. In this chapter, I will show you two different types of bad related cases of haptic communication with people who are not here. First one is haptic communication with a dead person. I don't know such customs exist in your country, but in Japan, when someone dies, their body is not normally sent home. There, the body is given death makeup, and there's a nitre placed in a coffin and wait to be cremated. This process is called nokan, and in most cases, nokan is performed by nokanshi, a professional of nokan. She's nokanshi. But a friend of mine, Hiroichi Yanase, experienced nokan of his dead father with assistance of a professional nokanshi. He had his father dressed in his most favorite his clothes before he died. During the nokan process, nokanshi assisted him, saying like that, "Don't pull your father's hand so hard. I think your father is in pain." Or your father must be uncomfortable because his shirt is wrinkled in the back. So no conscious words let Yanase to consider his father's feelings about. He realized he is carrying his father even though he is already dead. Yanase noticed that the mode of haptic communication with his dead father had changed. Before performing no kan, he felt distant toward his father's body. He felt he was touching an object. The communication was monodirectional. However, when he realized he was carrying his father, haptic communication got generative. He found he was adjusting his manner of touch based on, of course, imaginary reaction of his father. This haptic communication was a kind of last dialogue of them. And Yanase says he was so happy with doing no kan. So we can say that the sense of touch tells us more than we can think in our heads. This helps us accept and understand the death of someone close to you. And the second case of haptic communication with people who are not here is communication mediated by an avatar robot. This robot is called Orihime, and Orihime is an avatar robot developed by Orilab. It aims to solve human loneliness through communication technology. Orihime's movements are not programmed but are controlled by humans in real time. It is equipped with a camera and microphone and a speaker. It can be operated via the internet. So place Orihime at the place where you want to go, such as your school, your company, or at family which is far away. As a pilot of it, you can look around and react to the conversation you hear. Ultimately, you can communicate as if you were right there. Orihime gave people who have difficulty getting out of the house due to the disabilities or illnesses the opportunity to go out. Orilab opened cafe in Tokyo. This is the cafe called Dawn, where food and drink are served by Orihime, controlled by people with disabilities or illnesses. Some of them are working from their bed. And I myself also started a research project in 2020. 2020 is the time Tokyo is almost locked down to prevent a spread of COVID-19. With Sai and Jarreo to express the possibility of meeting someone without meeting them in person. Sae is an Orihime pilot. She has a somatoform disorder, has not been able to leave her house for more than 10 years. And Jarreo is a dancer. We have already met him. On this project, we had some excursions. Yes, we visited a place where spring is flowing because Sai wanted to enjoy the beautiful water surface pattern. And we also went to museum. And on the other day, we enjoyed cooking with Sota Namba. This is Namba, and he is totally blind. And Sai helped Namba. This is Sae with Orihime. Sae helped Namba cook through Orihime held by Jarreo, indicating the right position where he should put ingredients. So we have very short video of cooking.
今そこ行くと2列目に入ってるから。そうそうそう。
Yeah, this was very fun. Here we have some comments by Sae. She said that with a video phone, you have to hang up when you have something to do and you have to have something to say. But with orihime, you don't have to talk. You just have it there, and it's fine if you just tap along. And unlike video home, I feel as if they have put my presence there. She also said that I spent a long time staying in my home, and I always felt strongly that I wanted someone to touch my presence. Now, using orihime, I am able to have my presence recognized by others and feel the sense of being with them, which is a great change for me and full of possibilities. I can't touch them, but I can touch them. In other words, I don't have a physical presence there, but I can be touched by them. I think it may be because the awareness of the other person's presence in your mind gets stronger than when you are meeting in the flesh, in person. From her comments, we can say that we can touch someone's presence even if he or she is not physically present. And when someone is not physically present and his or her facial expressions are not visible, people are more likely to communicate carefully, imagining his or her other thoughts and feelings. So lack of information triggers reciprocal exploration. Okay, here's the conclusion of my talk. First, I talked about hierarchy. Touching someone's body can enhance intimacy with them, but it can be violent. So that's why we must consider conditions of good touch. And next, we talked about the importance and necessary conditions of good touch. First point was with respect to haptic personality, which is different from visual personality. And next point is reciprocal exploration is very important. And last point was trust. This is also very indispensable for good touch. And lastly, we talked about haptic encounter is not limited to physical contact. We can touch someone who is not physically there. And my last message is now we live in a time when it is difficult to meet physically. But I think that is why we have realized the deeper potential of haptic encounters. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.